not supposed to be doing this. You're from Jamaica. What are you doing rapping? Are you crazy?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Hold that though, because I actually want to get that on camera. I want to get that on camera. You heard? They would tell you from Jamaica, why you rapping?
Rap Poet online, right? R-A-P-O-E-T.
That's like
There we
this.
go.
Okay, so I'm Self-Suffice. I'm here with you to continue on the module about hip-hop culture, living hip-hop, not just talking about it, not just selling it, but actually living it. And I believe I have another great honor to introduce some other people that I believe live hip-hop. So hopefully if you pay attention, you could read between the lines of their gimmick and see how they actually apply it in their life. Five Steves, thank you for being here. This is my brother. I seen you tour down the stage, you know what I mean? Like bars on top of bars. So we've been meeting to connect, you know, hopefully we'll get to collab. That's really, I want to spit some bars with him. But let me ask you a little bit. Can you introduce the rest of the council first of all?
Okay, I'm Five Steves. This is Instincts. He's a rapper in the council, also a producer. This is Nomad Carlos.
Yes.
And this is the Sickest Drama, or TSD.
What up?
So y'all reside in Jamaica and New York. Like, how do y'all stay together as a group, and how do you manage being across different places?
Okay, well, we're all from Kingston, Jamaica. 3 of us currently live in Kingston, myself, Instincts, and TSD. Nomad Carlos is in New York, right?
So you actually met in Kingston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that? What was that bond? I don't know if it was hip hop. If it wasn't hip hop, don't say it is just for the interview. Just keep it real. But if part of that bond was hip hop, can you tell us a little bit about how you met and why you were able to stay together after you moved?
Well, that's a funny story. Because they know each other from high school. I know him from high school.
Yeah.
Now, how we met in high school, because I'm actually like maybe 3 years ahead of him.
Okay.
How we met is, I think I was arguing one day with some friends about cannabis,
Okay.
and I think
Cannabis the rapper, right?
yeah, the rapper. And I think somebody passed and heard, and they're like, "Yo, you need to meet this dude that I know.
Yeah.
He's a crazy cannabis head too."
All right.
And then we connected.
So that reminds me of one of the great things about hip hop we've touched on it several times. Hip hop being a way where a fight isn't a bad thing. It's not a fight to kill someone. It's where we can be passionate and hear each other's opinion. You don't get that in a lot of fights outside of hip hop culture. So that makes sense. So that's how y'all met.
So even though we attended the same school, because we were, 3 years apart, it was really difficult for our paths to cross.
Right.
That sort of brought us together.
Got you. So that was you two.
Yeah, so me and him, I know this guy from, I entered high school.
Okay.
So I mean, I grew up in Jamaica.
Okay.
Like, more than 3/4 of my life. Grew up in Jamaica, so.
Okay.
Feisty is he's one of the first friends I had when I went to high school, so. Immediately when I met Five C's, I'd say, not even a whole month, but we just connected on hip hop. It was always on hip hop, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And then this dude was always on the internet back then.
Okay.
Like message boards and stuff, and would tell me, yo, you need to go to ohhla.com.
Oh
That
That was a
website.
thing for us.
So that was a huge thing for us.
That was,
I'd say at that time I was probably like 13.
Right.
I was going to a little Bone Thugs phase.
Okay.
So I was like, yo,
That's
I want,
gonna make you a lyricist.
bro, I'm like, I
You
wonder
know
what
what I
these dudes is saying.
Right.
So I used to go to OHHLA, I used to go to OHHLA, and I'd just come to school and just spit Bone Thugs lyrics. Like, just like them too. I like, yo, so when we would have school classes.
So that's almost like how an artist would think about tracing a picture when they're learning how to draw.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes we hear these lyricists and it's like, to be captivated at that age, you might not know. If someone's doing mumble rap, you might think that's amazing and say, how can I mumble rap?
Right.
But fortunately, at that time, you heard Bone Thugs, which is actually spitting a lot of sick lyrics.
Yeah. So, you know, I heard that, and then I was like, yo, because we'd have the school clashes, and everybody would just be rapping like verses from the hottest thing that we would be seeing on Rap City back in the days. So like, yeah, Steve would always go spit some verses, and I would just come through with the Bone Thugs verses at that time, you know.
That's right. So that's something different from how I came up here in America, where our battles would be like, I'm rapping it, you, and we're doing it. But you would have almost like a sound clash in your battles.
Right.
You were like, oh, I found this verse.
Yeah.
So,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost testing your respect for the culture as well.
Yeah.
I like that, and
Yeah.
that's one thing that I wouldn't have known. You know what I mean? Where I could assume, because hip hop gets localized in our different areas, so that's something where it's authentically yours.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's how it started.
That's
Yeah,
kind of crazy.
But you know, one of the things about Jamaica to that sort of adds to that is that unlike in America where there are sort of clearly defined regions, and these regions have a sound and an identity. So there's East Coast, there's West.
Especially with the marketing.
We got everything.
Okay.
Yeah, we're influenced
Yeah,
by
we got everything at once.
Once,
So
ca-
fine.
once cable came out, it was a rap, bro.
But
Okay.
I'm saying
Once
I'm
rap
saying
came.
even before
And that's
that,
how it was. Luckily, when I, you know, Q-Tip, Cool G Rap, Biggie, Black Star, you know what I mean? That's how I came up. So I feel like in each of these areas, some people will have that, and I feel like that's closer to the actual thing, and that's why we're doing this course, right? Because a lot of people is getting hip hop from the marketing of hip hop, and these are people a lot of times outside of the culture, and they're saying, "What's the deal?" It's easier to sell this product if we could put blueberry, strawberry, East Coast, West Coast. But I needed my people to send me cassettes back in the day from the West Coast to find out, yo, you got some spitters
Right.
out on the West Coast. I was hearing it was just like from the West, and then you hear Freestyle Fellowship and all these other guys.
Swords of Mischief. It's funny you said that. It's funny you said that because
93 till it.
because so I'm older than these guys. I would have gotten put onto hip hop from before them, and one of the things for me that did it was mixtapes. Back when mixtape meant a completely different thing.
Yes.
Back when
It
DJs
took
made
effort,
mixtapes.
Yeah.
It
No,
took
but-
effort.
But
To
what
get
I'm saying is-
DJs were making mixtapes.
Right.
It was
DJs were
exclusives
making
and
mixtapes. It
freestyles.
wasn't
blends.
rappers making mixtapes and putting them out. It was
No.
DJs
No.
saying all of these are great songs. I'm gonna come. So that's how I got a lot of stuff because a lot of these songs were exclusive.
Now, did you have people trade mixtapes? Or was it just like you went to a
Sometimes.
DJ and they put it out and you had your consistent DJ?
No, I don't even mean Jamaican mixtapes. You know what I
Got
mean
you.
is we were getting Clue tapes
Oh,
and
got you,
yeah.
got you.
Tony
got you,
Touch
got you.
and
Yeah.
S&S and
Yeah,
Ranji
yeah,
and
yeah,
Crunchy.
Yeah,
And then the thing with us is that we thought it was our own little thing.
right.
So it's like it was our little inside
Yeah,
joke.
yeah.
Right? So when the album comes out and you're just hearing the song, know that it comes out on the album, we had it 6 months ago on the Clue tape.
Right.
You're old.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too. Innovating,
You want to be
right?
onto something before
Before
everyone
everybody
else.
else.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
For me, growing up, you heard Nomad Carlos mention cable. In Jamaica, we have cable. Like
Okay.
all the stations you have,
Okay.
we have those.
Okay.
Plus more
Okay.
for cheaper.
Okay.
So we grew up with American
But that
culture.
depends what neighborhood you at in America.
I know.
We
but
got.
I mean,
I'm just saying the full gamut
I'm
of
just
channels
playing
that
with
you guys know and have.
Yeah.
We've had that.
we had
Okay.
illegal HBO and stuff.
Gotcha.
All of that. So we
Yeah,
grew up
was
on that.
illegal.
Okay.
So a lot of us grew up watching Rap City, etc.
Yes.
But even before that,
Right.
before my family had cable, I mean, Jamaicans travel all over the world, so I have family all over,
Yes.
you know, and
England, America.
especially the States, Florida, Atlanta,
Yeah,
especially for
yeah,
me, you know.
Right.
And I had cousins and family that were watching videos, taping them on VHS cassette, sending it back. 'Cause we
Right.
didn't have cable at that time. So we were getting these tapes.
See,
that
and
had all
that's,
these
that's what I
videos.
was saying now with the cassettes too. Aside from the DJs, people would tape things, and that was how you really stay ahead. Before it was dropped, before
Yeah.
Nas was Nas with the buzz,
Yeah.
we was hearing him on tapes like, yo, this cat stands out. This cat Biggie
Yeah,
stands out.
he was more from that era.
He was probably, yeah.
I mean,
he
I
was
caught
probably-
the last part of a mixtape era with some Clue and
Me too,
stuff
yeah.
like that, you know?
Even then though, like, even with the tapes, because yeah, you know, would have gotten some of those as well, but like, welfare, richer Jamaicans had satellite dishes that would allow them to pick up all these international stations, right?
Okay.
So if you had a rich friend who his parents had a satellite dish,
Okay.
Yeah.
you'd like find excuses to be
go
over
over
at his
their
house.
house.
Because you have to catch
You got to catch your.
UMTV raps, you have to catch
Okay.
Rap City.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
This is like late
Gotcha.
80s, early 90s.
It took, and that's another way where it took effort. It took effort.
You had to go out of your way for it.
Yeah.
Had to go out of your
And to
way.
this day, I mean, even though hip hop is even more popular, it's everywhere and you can just access it on any platform, you still have to know where you want to go
That's right.
to find
And
certain
a lot of
things,
people will
you
say
know?
if it's not on my main streaming platform,
Mm.
I guess it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's not
we might
relevant,
not have
it's not
had
good.
that access,
Mm.
but having to search meant if it wasn't here, I'm gonna look somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for a lot of youth today where it's like, I hope we can remind people that like just because it's not on a streaming platform doesn't mean it's not there. That was obvious for us. If you going over to your rich friend's neighborhood or getting a cassette from here, it's not obvious, but it's still something that you could do and easier if you know. Like what's not in front of you, you could still reach. So how did y'all two end up really as a group? How did you as a group end up bonding like that to a point where you
Yeah.
moved but y'all still maintain this connection in two different countries?
Well,
You were already like a group by then, I'm
Well,
guessing? Because you started doing the clashes.
me and him had a group from high school
Okay.
coming out. Eventually everybody went their separate ways.
Okay.
But
These guys also were part of a group.
they also were a part
Yeah.
of a
Oh, well,
different groups.
not originally.
But they
Originally.
became a part of a group at one point in time.
Right, so originally,
Mm.
both of us were just hip hop heads, both of us were rappers, and we'd sort of trade bars. So I'd go home, write something, call them up, be like, yo, how this song? He'd do the same thing. And then he was going off to Canada to
Okay.
go to college.
Okay.
And we had this idea, I remember, I think it was close to when he was leaving, where he was like, yo, I'm going to the media arts, so I'm going to use these people's studio equipment and record.
That's a hip hop approach to
Vocals,
college.
send it
We
back
talked
to you.
about this yesterday.
So,
That's a hip hop approach to college. You're not just taking
Yeah.
classes, you get access to a studio.
exactly.
so the whole thinking was we were going to work on a project.
Okay.
So he would send back vocals, I'd send him beats, and we sort of compile it and whatever. So from then, we sort of recognize that musically we have a chemistry,
Okay.
and we're like-minded in terms of our hip-hop tastes.
Right.
So while he was actually leaving Jamaica is when you actually started to
Yeah, to do the
to
collaboration.
do a collaboration.
So
Yeah.
then,
But you were still in the same place at that point, right? Getting ready to go to college?
Yeah, pretty much, because it was like, because I spent time back and forth from States to Jamaica, Jamaica to Canada, and then from Canada back to Jamaica. So
Okay.
it's just kind of like between the back and forth. The time that I was in Jamaica was from like, I guess you'd call it 9th grade, going straight up. So we'd be, like you said, he was like 3 years ahead of me.
Okay.
So it was like, based off of the same cannabis discussion, we started to talk and whatever.
The rapper cannabis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the rapper cannabis.
Can I
Can
bust?
I
Can I boss? Right? Based off of that, we started to talk and realized, you know what I'm saying, started to write more original raps. But I knew him like as a cat whose beat game, like the beats of the production, high tier. So when you're talking about trying to get a beat from Instincts, like you gotta be like on a level.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every
waiting
time,
list was long.
yeah, the waiting list was long.
That-
so
that
It was
was
probably
his
longer than the waiting list to get into Trinity.
That was his reputation.
If you're,
That
a
was
part
his
of, if
reputation.
you're a part of the Jamaican hip hop scene and you get a beat from Instincts, consider yourself blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're blessed to know him
That
and to be able
was
to
the-
work with him.
I mean, I heard
so
some of the
closely.
beats, so
Yeah.
that's a fact.
So I mean, even
It's a
being in
fact.
my younger time right now, like the stuff I'm writing, I know that I've got to step correct. And like, I knew I was leaving, so I was like, you know what? Make sure I can like come with a
Okay, so
pitch
that really
that
answers the
works.
question, because we can have a deeper conversation, but just for the class,
Yeah.
I have to succinct a lot of things. That really answers part of the question. It was such a level of respect that y'all had
Yeah.
within the culture of hip hop that it was like this distance thing isn't even like the fact that we could work together is way more important.
Yeah.
Carlos has been out of Jamaica for almost 6 years.
Almost 5 years. Yeah, almost 6 years.
2013,
Yeah,
October
20
2013.
Yeah, almost
Yeah.
6 years, and we're still a group.
Yeah.
I mean, technology.
So talk about that. He was going to college, but he was maintaining like, yo, you got
And
fire beats, I got my lyrics.
that was in the era of dial-up internet. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying? So I was dedicated to getting those 3 megabytes. I was sitting down waiting for my
Hold on.
This
3
was
megabyte
like,
beat.
this was
I
like,
never thought
A
about
128 kbps
128
MP3.
KB.
This
I'm
was
there for like
before
40 minutes waiting for
MP3s.
this to download.
This
Oh,
was
real
this
player
was
audio.
before
Real player
MP3s.
audio,
This
all
was
of that.
real audio.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
that never occurred to me. Like,
Yeah.
how you guys were sending
Real
stuff
audio,
back then.
remember
So.
real audio?
So then what was it like? How did you move? And were you like in the middle, like we working on projects
so-
already? Or were you like,
well-
yo, I might not see you for
Well,
a while?
let me give you a timeline. Because how
We
me
all-
and Steve met TSD and Instincts. There's a place called Gambino's Recording Studio in Jamaica.
Okay.
Most view it as like the
Mecca.
Mecca of Jamaican hip hop.
Yeah.
And how
At
I
least in Kingston.
in Kingston,
Okay.
how I got introduced there is my family, my cousins, they were running the studio,
Okay.
and you know, I all my hip hop influences came from them when I was much younger. So that's really how I got into hip hop. So.
But you talking about managing, producing,
They-
engineering?
They were managing it, and they had some people who would come in and
Okay.
produce for them.
Okay.
But they were also rappers as well.
Okay.
So when I had my crew with Steve, I was like, "Yo, my cousin's got the spot. Oh, let's go."
Okay.
It was like probably within the first year when it was opened up.
Gotcha.
So it'll be like 05?
Yeah, we
Four-
first
four-
went in
05.
December 04.
04,
Yeah, December
okay.
04.
When you're 04.
So early on, as they were establishing that platform, you were establishing your
Right.
connection. as
So
well.
from 04, 05 onward, well, I think I met Instincts before I ever met TS.
Yeah.
You were in Canada still.
Yeah, I was in Canada.
Let me jump in.
Yeah.
Let me jump in right here because they had asked me to come around to the studio because they had heard a beat I made and they're like, no, we need to have this youth in
Facts.
the fold. So I started going around there around 2005, and by then I'm jaded rapper because I'm like, I don't like where hip hop has gone.
Yeah.
Everybody's trash.
Yeah.
And,
Type of vibes.
you know. So
Right out the world.
I remember telling them, I was like, yo, there's this dude I know, you know, TSD, he's crazy. And I started playing them a lot of his music. And then they sort of saw the light and sort of, I guess, brought him into the fold. And I think one of the first projects, apart from what we did, he did a mixtape, and those same guys sort of A&R'd it. And,
So you were in a position where, because of what had been happening, you were able to appreciate artists that were still kind of lyrical and not just following trends.
Right.
So maybe if that wasn't happening, you wouldn't have, but you were able to say, yo, we got something right here in Jamaica, right here in my community where like we might be some of the best right now.
It's funny that you said that.
Because like
I would have been
things
a part
going
of
wrong helped you appreciate what was going right.
All right, so I would have been a part of the Jamaican hip hop scene from as early as maybe '94.
Okay.
So I would have seen various different generations. So I knew pretty early that we had dudes in Jamaica that were on the same level as the people that we looked up to.
Right.
Our problem was that we had this sort of inferiority complex where we felt like there's no way I could be as good as Nas.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Right.
Even though you probably with a little bit more work, he could,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
probably be closer to him. But you
Totally.
know, we felt like we would never attain that level. And I remember telling dudes, I was like, yo, but when I play your music and I play something from Raekwon right after,
It goes together.
it goes together.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Okay.
don't
So
feel like
you
you're trying to
touching
do
on
something.
another. Wait, actually, I gotta wrap up this question though. So how did you stay connected?
WhatsApp.
And then, but
What's
then I
up?
gotta go
These
back
guys?
to you because I brought up
To these
another
guys?
question, and they're ending, so we gotta go to theirs. But
Mhm.
I wanna ask you a question based on what you were saying.
Oh well,
So you were one of the main people that was bringing your crew to the studio,
yeah.
but then you ended up being out. So what happened then?
All right, when I left, 3 years before I left, we had the four of us. The four of us built like the most chemistry in that studio,
Yeah,
at that
okay.
space. Out of all the crews that were coming through the studio and chilling there for like on a daily basis,
Yeah.
the four of us were, I'd say, the most like-minded individuals. So that is why the four of us kind of connected that way. So
Okay.
the four of us spearheaded the premier Jamaican hip hop show that gave a
Okay.
platform to artists to come and do their thing.
Pay
Did that have
attention.
a name?
Pay attention.
Pay attention.
It was called
Pay
Pay
I
Attention.
Attention.
thought you were playing on it in the beginning, actually.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had a show called Pay Attention, and that was the place to be if you're a hip hop artist in Jamaica and come to this space and do your thing, and you know. So we had that run for 3 years. I left right before
Right
it ended.
after what now? You left in 2013, right after
After
that October show we
yeah,
had.
the October show had me and Steve's on it.
No, it was, that was August.
Yeah,
You were in August
August.
2013.
I left in
TS
October.
was in October
Yeah.
with Slow Mo,
Right,
BPM, and Mario Ever.
right. So
I remember all the lineups.
So,
Yes.
yeah, it's
It
good.
was big.
So I did
Moments.
I did my
Moments.
final show there, and I left
Okay.
because I mean I was born here, but I grew up in Jamaica.
You left on a high note, basically.
Yeah, that's
It
how
was
I
like
was
you achieved.
because
It
I
wasn't like-
had just released an EP and I gave out
So you was
single.
actually continuing. You was like, okay, what's the next step for this?
yeah.
It wasn't like bad.
It
like,
wasn't, but it wasn't just because of hip hop why I left though. It was like most kind of personal reasons too.
you had to go.
Yeah, you know.
But what's important to me, I think, in terms of students learning, is that it wasn't a question. Like wherever you had to go in your life, we all have to go places
Yeah.
for various reasons.
Yeah.
It wasn't a question if you were losing your connection to your
I
community.
mean,
Right.
we saw it as an advantage coming.
Mhm.
Mm.
Going to New York.
Mhm.
So it's like,
Yeah.
we need an agent in New York.
In fact,
You
us
know,
being
you
here
know?
in Connecticut is assisted by him being in New York. We
Right,
could fly to
that
meet
too.
him, and he could pick us up, and we drive here.
Yeah.
You know,
Rather
so-
than we lost
Yeah.
one, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
able to do
So
stuff
did
for
y'all
us.
stay calling and emailing like
WhatsApp.
that?
WhatsApp group.
Okay.
We pretty much talk
Tech-
daily, or if not,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Group chat.
Technology, bro.
we Skype, you know what I'm
And
saying?
did you still like exchange bars and stuff like that?
Well, I mean, anytime the beat drops, we send him the beat, he voices, we send
Yeah.
it down.
Emails.
He comes here to the Jamaica once a year, and hopefully we'll be in the US
Last
more.
time when he was there, we shot a video, he
Yeah.
dropped out 2 verses.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Every
it's like
time
that.
he comes in, he's working.
Yeah,
He's
when
working.
I come through.
So now, doing it like that, I'm sure you just feel it's easy now because it's even
Yeah.
more technology. But when you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to do it and it's hard,
Mhm.
and you're doing it anyway,
Yeah.
and I think that's essential to
Here's the
hip-hop.
interesting thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The joke of this all is that as far as council,
Yeah.
this is going to be one of the first times all 4 of us are on stage together.
Right.
Which is-
Performing
yeah.
the material that
Very
we
true.
recorded.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
looking
when we're
forward
in
to that.
Jamaica,
Y'all
it's
gonna
me-
see some footage of
yeah,
that too.
when we're in Jamaica, it's me, Steez, and
yeah.
Instincts.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's in New York,
'Cause
so
I'm up here.
our song sets are structured so that the 3 of us go.
You know what? I might need to get a second interview with y'all tomorrow if possible. Like,
Yeah.
we'll see. You know what I mean? Either way, me
Yeah.
and Steve's
Yeah.
gonna.
Let me tell you something
look at
interesting
stuff.
about council. It's a combination of 4 individuals,
Yeah.
but it's also a combination of the remnants of 2 groups.
Right.
But as
I
Nomad was
get it.
saying, we had a group from high school.
Right.
Mhm.
These guys never really clicked as much in high school,
Right.
But
But
there's
it-
a connection.
from high school,
Right.
and eventually they created a group.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then that group, kind of broke up, and then these guys became like the remnants.
Now, it
The
seems
core
like
remnants
the
that
whole
became the
time
roots.
y'all were part of a movement which goes back to what you were saying about these different phases and appreciating and lack of appreciation and just creating your place. Also, the concept of localization, of hip hop being something that can go other places. And I'm not going to respect you if you sound like me. If I'm from the LES and you from Jamaica, or you from Ireland and I'm from China, I'm not going to respect you if you sound like me. I'm going to respect that you took it and you flipping it in your way, right? And I don't know how much that's still relevant. That's up to the students to debate, but that was definitely part of my experience, your experience. So being a place where people say, okay, Jamaica dance hall, Jamaica dance hall, Jamaica dance hall, Jamaica dance hall. And then maybe they say, well, reggae too, right? And then maybe they say roots reggae, maybe Bob Marley, maybe they start to say like it's not just dance hall, there's a lot there. It's interesting to me to hear you say it's obvious, right? And that they're like, wait, why are you rapping? Like it's reggae, dance hall, this, that. It's so interesting to me being that we know the roots of hip hop in America wouldn't be what they was without Jamaica, without Kool Herc, without the toasting, without the tradition of the big speakers and almost like the carnival sound, just through the Caribbean in general. So let's just pause for a minute on that. That's interesting, where you can be like essential to something and then be told, because people miss the knowledge component of hip hop and passing things on, you can be told, what are you doing here? When there is no here without.
It goes back to
let
the
me
point
speak on
about
that.
marketing.
Yeah.
But you see, the thing about it is, it's not just a lack of knowledge. There's a whole political and sociological aspect behind it.
Right.
Because there's a lot that Jamaica went through politically, largely because of forces outside of Jamaica. And the main Jamaican rallying cry, in a sense, was felt to be reggae and dancehall. And then we have a serious sort of class struggle.
Okay.
And the music of the masses was largely reggae and dancehall, because reggae and dancehall emerged out of these poorer communities.
Okay.
And so the idea is that if you're doing anything other than reggae and dancehall, you're not of us. You're one of our oppressors.
Okay.
Because our music is reggae and dancehall.
Okay.
So you're one of these uptown, middle class guys who are doing something that's not for us. So that's where a lot of it came from.
Yeah.
I was in high school listening to Only Built for Cuban Links, and dudes are telling me I'm listening to white people music.
Only built for Cuban Links. We talking about Wu-Tang Clan. We talking about Raekwon and Ghostface Killer. So that's hood. Shout out to Wu-Tang. Shout out Supreme Allah. Everybody.
And I think it goes back to your thing about marketing, because we're letting outside factors dictate to us what our identity is. And I think what's so important about the concept of First Coast that we bring in, Jamaican hip hop that we're bringing, is that we're trying to bring that knowledge to the forefront and kind of recreate. You know, when you go to that DNA.com and they check to ask you what's your ancestry, it takes you all the way back to this, that, and the third. If you do the DNA.com on hip hop and you check the ancestry, it takes you right back to First Coast, which was our exact point of the presentation. So what we want to do basically is like create a dialogue between the diaspora of black people and black music. We're trying to put everything back to where it was, because obviously you drop slaves off in Jamaica, you drop slaves off in the South. What's really interesting is that the DNA of the way that we communicate, the music, the beatbox, the drum, the spoken word, the oral tradition, all of that is real, but we don't recognize it because we don't realize that it's all one bloodline. So what we want to do with
that
First
colonialism
Coast,
and oppression was
it's really the reason. You know
And
what
we
I'm
are
saying?
reinforcing it back home.
And we're
not
trying to
understanding,
reinforce
you know?
this with First Coast hip hop, so we can say, hey, Jamaican hip hop speaks to New York. New York. Now we have translators. Now we can have a big diaspora dialogue, include Afrobeats in that. Now there's one whole big collection.
And I just want to comment on your metaphor too, because one of the funniest things that you find out, like I don't know, I haven't done my DNA, so I don't know a lot of the personal anecdotes, but I know one of the big anecdotes that tends to happen to catch my attention, which is that people will go, oh, their whole identity is based on I'm this and that, and they'll find out that
something else,
and it to the point where you have white supremacists who are like, their whole philosophy is based on I'm a pure Aryan, this and that, and then they find out like they're South African, you know what I mean, like South African, and it's like now their followers is like vandalizing their house and trying to kick them out. So hopefully we're not talking about that in hip hop, but it's similar, where someone could really think like we're so different and opposed and find out like, oh, I'm like, we're related.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like y'all was here, without you there is no me, basically.
Yeah.
Basically, the thing is, there's even a bigger thing because we can take it above even hip hop and reggae and all of these things. Let me ask you if you've ever heard the name Monty Alexander. All right, Monty
familiar.
All right, so Monty Alexander is a well-respected jazz pianist.
Okay.
Born and raised in Jamaica, made all his music in Jamaica.
Okay.
There's Ernest Ranglin, well-respected jazz guitarist.
Okay.
Born and raised in Jamaica, grown in Jamaica.
Okay.
So if the rest of the jazz community could have realized them as just jazz musicians, regardless of the fact that they're from Jamaica, this whole idea of because you're from this place, this is the music that you have to make, is really garbage at the end of the day. It's really non-existent.
I just want to say, like, me personally, that whole mindset, I find it to be hypocritical, especially from the modes that it's coming from. Because those people, I mean, reggae music, right?
Yeah.
Came from, was...
Imitation.
It was imitating American music.
Yeah.
They were, like, that's how reggae came about in the first place. Like, Jamaican culture was always, what's on Billboard in America right now? Oh, we're gonna sing that over. That was always the culture.
It blows your mind when you go and hear like some of Bob Marley's earlier stuff, and you're like, oh, he was doing like...
We know what I'm
Well,
saying.
let's just call a spade a spade. Let's just call a spade a spade, right?
Right, call a spade
You
a spade.
can't tell me that I shouldn't rap or I shouldn't hip hop when you're wearing Tommy Hilfiger and wearing Jordans.
Right.
You can't tell me that.
Right.
Well, you know what's funny about Jamaicans though? We're very proud people. For a lot of reasons. A lot of great things have happened in Jamaica to great people.
If you survive in the African diaspora, to your point, those of us who survive, we gotta have some pride in it.
But I mean, like for us as a nation, in terms of thinking about people who came from the nation, like Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley, having a
about your history, you mean? You're proud about your history.
We're I would go as far as to say Jamaicans have an ego.
Yeah.
Because of that. And tied to that ego is reggae. So reggae is the biggest thing in the world, the whole world of reggae.
It's ours.
Yeah, so right now, even locally, the bigger fight is not against hip hop. The bigger fight is, Americans are stealing reggae. These white boys in California are making more money than our local reggae artists. There are more white acts in Europe touring reggae than that's what's going on in the reggae community right now.
But you're stealing their music in the 70s, you know what I mean?
We didn't do enough to capitalize on it, and now we're knocking the rest of the world for embracing our culture, learning about it, doing it well, and applying the business the way they should. And we're upset about that.
Isn't that where hip hop really starts to shine again? Because you know, like let's go back to Capoeira, right? Let's go to South America, leaving Jamaican America for a second, right? We're taking the drums away from us. It's illegal to defend yourself, right? So we now have this game that we play, right? And you see the bing, 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 bing. It's this game, it's this dance, but it's self-defense, right? And I think in that way, whether we go back to jazz musicians taking a motif from popular commercials, Woody Woodpecker, but when the jazz musicians were taking and flip it, it meant something within our community. Yeah. And that's a big thing to this day. I've never heard so many popular commercial songs that are like considered white music that I wouldn't necessarily listen to coming up. Remixed by Jamaican artists. You know, where I hear,
hold on. You know what's big in Jamaica? Country music.
Yeah.
You know what you hear in a strip club or a dance? Celine Dion. Celine Dion.
That blew my mind.
Celine Dion.
But this is specifically, this is something about the diaspora and about hip hop, right? Sampling, it's not just like what you had and making something to it, because that's really important. But if we could articulate, there's something there about amongst us who are in a similar situation, saying like, yeah, I took that because that's all we had. But I put a flavor on it.
I flipped
Like
it.
when you produce that beat and you find, it's not like I could play a billion melodies. It's like I'm gonna find that half bar and that whole thing that's gonna hit, that's gonna speak to us, and I'm gonna flip it in a certain way. So don't you think we should give ourselves credit in that sense too, as reggae, as hip hop, as diaspora, as artists who take things.
And flip it.
We're not really just taking it and saying,
It's ours.
yeah, like we're gonna do this now because you did it well. We're saying, y'all, we're not getting a voice. Y'all have a voice, so we're gonna join in on that voice, but let you know in the subtlest way that this is what's up right here.
Yeah.
When you hear how we play your song, you're gonna notice something.
Definitely.
It's funny that you said that.
Yeah.
Because in the 90s when there was this big conversation going on about how hip-hop steals music in terms of sampling.
Right.
I remember one of the most sampled musicians, David Axelrod. David Axelrod heard how RZA. No, not Axelrod. Sorry. Bob James.
Yeah.
Heard how
Crazy drum breaks.
RZA flipped his song Nautilus.
Yeah.
And there's like, but I created this song as a happy song.
Right.
You created this dark, murky,
Right.
menacing thing from it, and it just blew his mind. And he had a different sort of view on hip hop from then, because before that he just saw it as, but all you're doing is taking 4 bars of my music and adding drums to it.
Right.
What was the Havoc joint where we sample the Michael Jackson again? What was it?
That's that's Apostles' Warning.
Right, yeah.
Look at that, Michael Jackson
One of my
turned into
favorite
Apostles'
ones,
Warning. Like
It's Apostles' Warning. He takes Jackson's 5 cover of People Make the World Go Round. That's a happy song, right? Apostles' Warning is one of the most menacing, scary.
That's one of my favorite
songs.
mobs.
yeah, Mob Deep
Mobb
music is
Deep.
like a bloody elevator.
Yeah.
So I think
One of my favorites.
So I feel like that is a part of the talent of hip hop as well. To hear something in music that nobody else hears and to sort of translate that.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, that is a.
It takes away from the idea of I'm the first, I'm the best, I'm the owner, to the idea of continuing to reconnect. What is the value to the cipher?
Yeah.
What is the value to the community? Like, you might have a dope beat, but if I can't rap on it, I'll never forget I had an African dance teacher one time, and I got this offer from Def Jam, and I was like all lit because I was producing and rapping and everything. So I came back and I took all the rhythms he'd been teaching us, and I did the whole drum beat, and I was all like happy to show him, you know what I mean? Because he's like a real dude from Africa that has all these accolades. So I play him the thing, right? I've been working on it. I get the djembes, doom-dooms, all of that. And he listened to it, he's like, yeah, that's it. But then he was like, he didn't look like excited. And he was like, we couldn't really do anything with this back in the village in Africa, because what are the drummers gonna do? What are the dancers gonna do? Like, the dancers are talking to the drummer. The drummer's talking to the dancers. And they're talking with each other, and they're creating something new together. It's not about having the most technical, precise, finished thing for me. Right? It's about, you get that sample, you get that flute, you get that thing, and if it doesn't connect us, maybe it's not hip hop. If it's not in a cipher, it's really cool. It's really cool in a museum somewhere. But I guess this is the culture about connecting. And thank y'all for staying together through time, through spaces, and being a great example. I look forward to working with y'all more. Looking forward to y'all show as well. This is the council, y'all.
Council. First Coast. Yeah.
And we're gonna come up with a homework assignment too.
All right.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man, that was dope, bro.
Yo, that was
Much
great.
respect.
Man.
Probably the best interview I ever did.
Yo.
bro. I
Did you get that part on tape? Did you stop the camera? He said it's probably the best interview ever.
Yeah, nah.
You didn't get that part?
I thought we were only doing 10 minutes interview. I thought we were only doing 10 minutes.
No, because I haven't done many interviews, but the ones that I have done, bro,
Don't get that part on tape.
the ones that I have done were just like,
For me,
I
this
just
is
want to
not
get
an
out, bro.
interview.
It's a conversation.
It's a conversation.
It's a conversation with a like-minded.
Those are the type of interviews that I only like, conversation.
Yeah, it's
That
gotta be
feel natural and
conversation.
organic. Yeah.
So I'm gonna see if I can bring the reminders in for the interview now.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
So I guess we do a run through
I guess
next
after.
time. So y'all go check in now then, don't it? Because
What time is it?
it's past 3.